What was your most horrifying moment in school? Mine happened on the first day of the 6th grade. In 9th grade, our high school track coach told us to practice sprints on the school's driveway. We would start near the road and sprint its 200 meters length. While we are congregated near the road, and I am waiting for my turn to go, a senior depants me, underwear and all, in front of the team, all nearby traffic, and the girls' cross-country team, who, unfortunately for me, was running by. That's when you put your hands on your hips, a smile on your face, and in the classiest tone say, "Hello, ladies." I wasn't feeling too well in math class during my freshman year of high school. I asked the teacher if I could go to the restroom because it felt like I was going to hell. I get halfway to the restroom and I end up throwing up all over the hallway floor, in front of a class full of students. The next year in sophomore English we had to write about a memorable experience, and one of the kids in my class wrote about seeing it happen from the classroom I threw up in front of. It's nice to know you touched a life. For a few years growing up I lived in a really small town, and the elementary school, middle school, and high school were all in the same building. When the high school kids had their homecoming spirit week, the entire school participated. Every day of the week students would dress up in some themed outfit, nerd day, twin day, etc. The first day was pajama day. I was 6 years old, in the first grade, and painfully uncool, like, even for a first grader. Admittedly, I did it to myself. I was the teacher's aide, and a total goody two-shoes. Also, my giant bug eyeglasses, tinted blue, which I thought was awesome, only added to the list of things for which I was constantly teased. But pajama day was going to change all that. See, I had this super sweet purple onesie, complete with footies, that either would really push me over the edge, popularity wise. People would see me in it and think, man, that chick is so cool. Purple onesies are obviously the height of fashion. This may be the time to mention that I was a chronic bedwetter as a child. And the thing about being a bedwetter is, you're embarrassed and don't want anyone to know about it, even your parents. So you learn to do your own laundry really early. You hide the soiled sheets clothes until you can inconspicuously wash them yourself. But sometimes this leads to confusion. Woke up that day full of anxious excitement, suited up in my PJs, got on the bus and rode to school. Exiting the bus, two girls in front of me make a comment about the stench of cat pee, and that's when the panic starts to set in. Had I grabbed from the wrong pile of clothes? Forgotten to wash? Hurriedly I dashed to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, removed the offending garment and had a sniff. Frick, what have I done? How did I not notice the overwhelming scent sooner? Should I try and wash in the sink? That won't work. No wear dryers. Call my mom for a change of clothes? No way. Don't want her to be disappointed in me. Apparently going the whole day in pea clothes was preferable to parental judgment. So I left the bathroom, resolved to suck it up and tough it out. And then I look around at the other students. No one is wearing pajamas. It is clearly not pajama day, or any other day of Spirit Week, as I got the dates wrong the entire week. And there I am, in my urine-soaked purple onesie on a regular old Monday. TLDR. I wore a urine-soaked purple onesie to school for an entire day. The twist of it being the wrong day was what won me over. Growing up I was a talented saxophone player. For most of middle school and high school I did a lot of traveling to compete both as an individual and with groups. The summer before I started high school I competed in an individual contest at a very large state fair. The finals were held in front of an audience of around 3,000 people, with big jumbotrons for people in the back who couldn't see that well, and it was also televised by the local CBS affiliate. I was kind of bummed that I didn't win, but it was still fun and I got some cash out of the deal. Now, as a band geek you know you're not going to be the most popular kid in school, but I thought that, since I was this superstar sax player, I would at least be popular with the other band members. Cue up the first day of school. First period is band. Everyone is chatty and the freshmen are anxious about starting fresh in high school. Bell rings, and our instructor, who was in his first year as a school instructor, and whom I had played with for several years around the area, wheels in a TV cart and says he has a surprise for us, while throwing me a giant crap-eating grin. He turns on the television and we see a video of me walking onto the state fair stage. I start to play. I was really getting into it, moving and shaking, baby. It was kind of uncomfortable being in the room, everyone looking between me blushing in my chair and me squirming around on stage. But it was well received and so I thought it might score me some points. All was good, and then it happened. The camera pans out slightly and we all see that my pants are clearly unzipped, all the way down. Like, really obviously unzipped. It looked like someone intentionally unzipped them and then pulled it open as far as it would go. How could I not notice that? Why didn't anyone tell Emmy about that? It got really quiet for a few seconds before everyone started laughing and coming up with nicknames. So now I'm sitting here beet red and being mocked by the band and dreading the thought of the next 4 years and oh my god, I hate my life. I look at the screen, deep into my own eyes, as I give the cameraman my best hot sax look hip thrust, and I can't help but wonder if it would have been any less embarrassing if I hadn't been wearing boxers. Sounds like bullying on the teacher's part. What an butthole. I was a bit of a late bloomer and had my first period on the second day of high school. I should also mention that it started halfway through the day and I didn't notice until I got home and had to throw away my jeans and underwear. It was that bad. I remember standing up in my last class to grab a paper from the kid in front of me too. Everyone behind me burst out laughing and I had no idea why until I got home. I pretty much wanted to die. How crappy. I got a surprise period in high school and a complete stranger came up and discreetly told me, "I can't believe no one in your class told you." One day when I was in high school, the guy who you got sent to if you did something wrong, it wasn't the principal there, but I forget his title, stuck his head into the classroom and asked for me. All the other students went to as I walked to the hallway because obviously I was in a lot of trouble. Except I wasn't in trouble. Somebody just wanted to tell me that my dad had died about an hour earlier. Well, that escalated quickly. Sorry dude. When I was 8 years old, I wrote the girl I liked a letter telling her that I liked her because I was shy. Turns out she wasn't. Then she shouted out to everyone that I liked her, laughed at me and tore up the letter. Frick you, Joanne. It's either that or the time I accidentally upset a wasp's nest. I hate wasps. Haha, that reminds me of a time when I wore boxers to swimming class when I was like 6 or 7. The instructor asked me if I was wearing underpants as shorts, and I was so serious in defending my boxers and told her no, these are shorts with crickets on them in a straight face, and didn't get why she didn't understand that. Years later I found them and they were totally red boxers with crickets all over them. In elementary school we were all assigned a country to do a little speech about. I was assigned Thailand. One of the most beautiful places in the country of course is Phuket Island, and with a handful of pictures from the island I cut out from a book I spent at least 90% of this presentation talking about Phuket. Yet, I was traumatized when a minute into my speech my classmates started laughing. And they laughed. And they laughed. And my teacher was red in the face with embarrassment, and so I just kept trucking through. It wasn't until just about the end that I realized that I had been pronouncing Phuket as Fricket the entire time as I was reading my cards. This is the island of Fricket. Fricket has many beautiful beaches. I would love to go to Fricket. I booked it from that room in Trauma. TLDR. Fricket. I learned later that the correct pronunciation is Phuket. Phuket, I'll do it live. In 7th grade my class had become pretty close to our history teacher, so much so that most of the class time was spent joking about current subjects and making fun of Lewis and Clark's dog named Seaman. Yeah, we were that cool. Well, one day, my friend dared me to hide under our teacher's desk while she was gone and scare her when she came back. Thinking it was hilarious, I agreed. So after scaring her and having a good laugh, class ended and all was good for about a week or so. Then came the call to the principal's office. The principal sat me down, asked me about the incident, lectured me on the rules of gender-based harassment and let me know that I would be facing horrible consequences once the school board hears about what I had done. Basically telling me to at least suspect suspension, but also that expulsion was easily on the line. Walking back to class I was devastated. I had never done anything bad before and my parents were going to freak. Once I walked into the class, I looked at my teacher and said, "Mrs. Teacher, it was just a joke. I was only kidding, to which he replied, so was I, then winked at the principal and the whole class started laughing. Needless to say, I learned my lesson and that teacher earned a cool place in my book after that. Crisis averted. What's sad is that I was totally expecting the story to end in the worst way possible. I went to a private religious middle school, which meant that we had mandatory prayers twice a day. Most of my classmates and I spaced out during that time, but we had to attend and play along. One day in 8th grade, during a 10-minute stretch of silent prayer, I noticed my friend eyeing an empty light socket on some wall-mounted strip lighting with a metal bobby pin in his hand. He looked at me as if to say, should I do it, to which I nodded vigorously. My nod was all the permission he needed, because he stuck that bobby pin right in the light socket. The light socket literally exploded. A jet of sparks shot out of the socket, accompanied by a huge boom, which echoed around the room of silent students and teachers, and my friend's shirt sleeve caught fire. The entire room was staring at my now crying friend with burning shirt sleeves in the black smoking light socket. Luckily he wasn't hurt, but the image of the silent room of 100 plus kids staring at my idiot friend who had just accidentally blown up a light socket still makes me giggle. First day of 6th grade, new town, new school. They had all of the students in the middle school gather in the gym, then each homeroom teacher would walk in front of them and call out their students' names. They called my name, or almost my name, Stephanie Fork and Bill. Then again louder, Stephanie Fork and Bill. My name is Steven. Middle school sucked. I feel you. Name is Heath and I got that at least once a year for Heather. I was in 8th grade at the time, and there was this girl I had been crushing on since 5th grade. I had finally gotten up the courage to ask her out. So I planned for a couple days and decided that giving her a note would be the best way. It was about a page long and in it I tried to articulate why I liked her and gave her my phone number. I had actually mentioned that I had been crushing on her for 3 years. I know, noobish, but I was a cripplingly nerdy 8th grader. I passed it back to her in math class, because she sat right behind me. After the longest 30 seconds of my life up to that point, she started laughing. Just a little sniggering at first, because it was a sort of quiet classroom, but then she went over to her friends. The sniggering grew louder and more girls were now doing it. Soon the whole group was hysterical. I just held back tears, lest I further my pariah status for the rest of the class. As soon as the bell rang, I went to the bathroom on the floor below me and cried my brains out for the whole next class. For some reason, I went to the last class of the day which she was in. The laughing continued, and I was nearly the only kid in the class not talking about it. I had my head down on my desk. Then this girl who sat with the one who I had the crush on came and dropped me a note. I was confused, but I stupidly thought it may be an apology or something. I opened the note and it turns out that she and her friends had copied the format of my note. They had another girl, an external party altogether, be the author of the note. All the words in it seemed to make me out to be a completely abhorrent creep. I threw my head back down on the table and they burst out again in that horrible laughter. I was just so hurt. I couldn't even cry anymore, and my chest started to hurt really badly. Eventually the teacher came over to see what was wrong. I could hardly talk, so he didn't get much out of me. I went home and I couldn't sleep that night. I dreaded going to school for a long time after that. Cried myself to sleep for a few days. The girl I had that crush on goes to the same college as me. There is still this small, awkward edge to our conversation. I know your pain. My parents always said the worst they could say was no. They lied. Not my most horrifying moment. When I was aged about 10 in primary school, a new kid started in the middle of the year. Every morning we had assemblies. I'm not sure if they have them elsewhere in the world. I live in the UK, but basically they take everyone in the school and put them in a big hall for half an hour, which means we're all standing packed pretty close together. The new kid must have been nervous, because about 15 minutes into the assembly, he started to projectile vomit over everyone around him. He vomited over the people in front of him, then tried to run out and vomited over a bunch of people on his way out. He must have hit about 15 or 20 people. The school descended into chaos. Everyone was trampling each other trying to get out of the room. People were running around screaming, covered in vomit. TL, DR, Columbine of vomit. As senior class president, I had to get up and give a welcome speech to the new freshman class on the first day of school. Unfortunately, I was also sick and losing my voice at the time. I get as far as hello, my name is Vic Val, when my voice loudly cracks in the most pubescent sounding way. The freshmen all looked shocked and were too scared to laugh. I died inside, regrouped, and said, Vic Valiant. And high school is full of moments like those. Get used to it. Then I continued with the speech. Decent save, but I still hear about it from friends. Pretty good save. Usually is better to acknowledge. When I was in middle school, I think maybe the 7th or 6th grade, I was in orchestra class. I played the violin but wasn't feeling that great that day. Eventually in class I realized that it was time to go to the bathroom and eject my stomach into the toilet. I hurriedly told my teacher I didn't feel good and ran to the bathroom to vomit. I get to the bathroom, and as soon as I vomit, the force on my stomach made me crap myself. I must have repressed what happened next because I don't remember anything after that. No one made fun of me for it, but having shat yourself in middle school with all your books in your classroom still, no easy way out. I must have Gohan blacked out, tapped into some uncounted powers and teleported around that freaking school. We had to do locker checks in 7th grade because one student had rotten lunches in their locker and there were fruit flies all over the place. I was that student. My entire class watched in horror as I pulled out each one of these bagged lunches that contained rotten sandwiches, apples, bananas, etc. Single most disgusting smell I have ever witnessed. Finally, I pulled out the last bag and the bottom ripped. The substance inside was not recognizable as food or as anything really. The slime poured out and hit the ground and the smell followed quickly. I look behind me and I see this cute girl from my class run to the nearest garbage can and throw up. For some reason I found that to be hilarious and I started laughing. She looked pee and said I was disgusting. I was red-faced for the rest of the day. It was quickly forgotten, I think. It was the first day of 5th grade. I was the new guy. I was trying to learn the kids' names but they were all being mean, laughing and pointing at me because I was wearing a bow tie that my mom bought me. I thought it was going to establish me as cool, but it just got me picked on. That was bad enough. But getting a drink from the water fountain splashed some water on my pants and some kids started pointing at me, chanting pee pants. Pee pants. I had the last laugh though. When recess time came I kept all those little bastards in the classroom and made them sit quietly while I read the newspaper and drank my coffee. I'm not going to lie, that took me a minute to figure out. Senior year in high school, one of my classes was AP Calc. It was the week before the AP test. My teacher was saying how in the last so many years every single kid had gotten a 5/5 on the test. She then came up to me and said, quiet but loud enough for everyone to hear, "Are you going to pass this test? Because honestly I'm not so sure." That didn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence in me as a student. To hear your teacher say after 8 months of straight studying for one test to get college credit, I ended up with a 5 and found the test really easy, but still, it wasn't that she was mad at me, she was more disappointed, and that was worse. Humiliating for all of my friends' classmates to hear that. In 9th grade I was taking a poop in the school bathroom. I personally didn't think it was a big deal. Yet, some ghetto kid found this extremely hilarious and stuck his iPod over the door and took a quick video of me sitting there pooping. He decided to go around showing all of his friends and I got a lot of crap for it. No pun intended on the crap. To everyone wondering, it was when the iPod Nano first came out with the video camera. It wasn't that long ago. Seeing that I am a senior in high school now, I would think they were being weird for watching a video of you pooping. My story involves shorts in 6th grade as well. One day I got up, put on my clothes for the day and went to school. I slept on the bus on the way to school because I was perpetually tired as a child. Anyway, I'm going about my day and I notice people looking at me funny. It was only a matter of time but some kid yelled out Daisy Dukes. I looked down and I was wearing a short pair of my sister's shorts. I was horrified. I tried to sag them a little lower so they didn't look as bad but everyone already knew. They called me Daisy from that day forward. Even worse, that day was picture day and even worse than that, it was a full body picture with one leg up. Kinda like a Capt Morgan pose. Worst day of my life. We're gonna need to see the photo. 8th grade. I liked a boy named Bobby. Pretty sure he liked me back due to all the flirting he was doing. I was standing with my friends after school and I admitted to one of them that I liked him. I said it was a huge secret and please don't tell. My friend looks right at me and then over to him who was standing maybe 50 feet away and yells, "Hey Bobby, Oak Tree 3 likes you, what see teenage girls are." He never spoke to me again. A girl did that to me in 9th grade. I admitted to having a crush on a guy, and the moment he walked into the room, she told him, right there in front of me. Then she wondered why I didn't trust her with anything after that. I switched schools going into 3rd grade because I got into the GATE program. I wasn't aware that the school had uniforms and ended up going to the first day in a baggy SpongeBob shirt and baggy pants while everyone else was wearing a white polo and blue Dockers. The shirt didn't even fit me properly until the 6th grade. 8th grade was my first year back in public school after 3 years of homeschooling. I was extremely oblivious and awkward. I tried my hardest to blend in and not make a spectacle of myself, but I was unsuccessful. I later learned that everyone knew me as Big Backpack Girl. That year was full of traumatizing incidents, but I think the worst one was the day some boys put tacks on my chair. Somehow I didn't notice they were there for a good 2 or 3 minutes, but I was acutely aware that everyone in the class was laughing at me. I shifted my weight or something and suddenly all the tacks were sticking me in the butt. I jumped up and everyone lost it. I always thought tacks on a chair was something that only happened to cartoons. First day of 9th grade. Huge new school in a homeroom full of strangers. Teacher has us all state our names and former school. Got to me. I said my part, and he responds with, "Boys don't make passes at girls who wear glasses." Hole. 6th grade for me as well. My cousin informed me how to masturbate and I spent the rest of the summer smacking that salami. First Friday of the school year comes around and we have Catholic mass. I sit next to the hottest girl in my class. You could always see her bras through her white shirt. They had just gotten big enough for all the guys in the class to notice she was first. I had a boner before we sat down. Fidget with said boner all of mass. When the Our Father prayer comes around and I held her hand, I managed to get a nice feeling pushing up against the pew in front of us. With the lack of blood to my brain, I think it's a good idea to hump said pew. We finish our prayer as I splodge the last week of future children in my pants. Quickly coming to my senses, I run to the bathroom. Brilliant think on my end says just throw water on yourself and say the sink sprayed. I dose myself and come back right during communion. Everyone sees my pee pants. I turn red. I cry. I never live it down till I go to a different high school 3 years later. TL. DR. I came during. Deliver us from evil. And that's how exorcisms work. I have 2 things. 1. In kindergarten I tripped and fell while playing tag and got mud all over my clothes, all up and down my pants and shirt. I am not talking about a little mud. It looked like someone took a paintbrush to much clothes. 2. I was in 3rd grade when the hit movie Twister came out in theaters. The tornado sirens went off once when I was in class and I was freaked out. Understand, to a 3rd grader who just saw that movie, the thought of being killed in a tornado was a very real possibility. I ended up crapping my pants in class because I got so scared and freaked out. It was brutal. Ah, you crap your pants because of Twister. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.